Good morning. Coffee time. And I want to share some information with you guys on tips and strategies, some of the technical aspects and the creative visual aspects to taking photos. So one thing that happened to me around 2000 when I went digital in my studio was the small digital cameras came out. We call them point and shoots. And nowadays everybody's got a point and shoot because everybody has an awesome camera in your cell phones. So here's my suggestion to you. I'm going to go through some image first of all and explain to you some of the core aspects and strategies when trying to improve your photography. But before I say that or get into that, let me suggest to you that if you have a point and shoot camera, bring it with you everywhere you go, or go on what I call crap shoots. Let's say you're going downtown or going to a park or you're going to a walk on the beach or something like that. Just bring your camera with you. I've taught many photography programs like 101 basic stuff, which this is part of what I'm trying to do right here. And I've always kind of told people, if you love photography, one of the worst things, and this is going to sound backwards, but there's an element of truth I want you to think about it. One of the worst things to do is get a big giant camera with a camera case and all this gear and tripods and everything, because it's cumbersome. So it's like a guitar. If you have a guitar, I think it's really smart to have it out on a stand versus putting it in a case in the closet. And you got to go in the closet, take it out, blah, blah, blah. When it's easily accessible, you grab it and you go. So now that qualifies cell phones. However, the problem with cell phones is that we tend to get very, very lazy. So we want to think, you want to think about what it is that you're creating, how you're seeing things, how you're using composition, how you're using light. So I'm going to give you some tips. These are all snapshots I'm going to show you. All taken with my cell phone and all taken recently here in Tamarindo, probably over nothing more than a couple of days. So and you'll see how whenever I'm shooting, I'm always thinking about this stuff. But you know, I've been a photographer for well over 40 years, so this comes to me more intuitively, more naturally. So, you know, I like to compare it sort of to like a musician who's jamming, and they're coming up with sounds and notes and bing bing bong bong bong. It comes with practice. You get better at it. It's a skill set. So it's all about the art of seeing, because of the love of photography. So anyways, I got some other videos that I've done before, and I'm going to put those in the description. You can watch those. They're all to do with lighting, composition, and etc. It goes more into the technical stuff, and it's I believe palatable, so it's easy for most folks to understand. Anyways, think about that, and think about some of the strategies I'm going to give to you right now. So I'm in Photoshop now. I opened up all the images that I'm going to show you, and you need to understand too, I kind of worked on them a little bit in Photoshop, so I enhanced the colors and that. So, you know, it's just the core principles apply nevertheless. So here's a snapshot I did at Parada Bay, beach rather, a couple days ago when we were out there for a visit. And I like this image because of the shadows in the foreground and we got the sky. Now look at the composition. I want to point this out. So the thing that caught my eye about this was, look at the shadows from the trees behind me. So I tucked under these trees, overhanging trees, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Look at the diagonal lines. So one thing that is often commonly used is the use of lines within an image to convey a direction of flow. Okay, so think about that, and this is what I did here. This was not just haphazard. I noticed it and I was, oh, that's cool. Now, it would have been cool had there been a subject in the middle here leading your attention to that, say a family having a picnic or something like that, whatever. So let me show you the composition. The composition is the important thing here. So here's what's called the rule of thirds, and it's more or less in that direction. It's not exactly, but I don't think there's rules that make it scientifically accurate. I'm not sure about that one. There's others I'm not sure about these. Rule of thirds. And there's the, what is called the golden spiral. Let me just shift this around here. The golden spiral is seen in nature, and it's an interesting thing. It's part of the Fibonacci sequence. Google that one and go on YouTube, and there's some really good videos on the golden spiral. And it's a composition strategy. And you can see here the stump sticking out of the beach is using the golden spiral for composition. You could easily say, well, what about the golden, not the golden, but the rule of thirds? Well, I think they're both applicable here. So anyways, that's a snapshot taken with my cell phone. Dun, dun, dun. Let's go to the next image. This was taken downtown Tamarindo. If you've been around Tamarindo, you know this bakery. Awesome bakery. It's right near the walkway that leads up to the new food court. I just noticed this. I thought it was interesting. Snapped it with my cell phone. Purposely kept these leaves on the bottom. I kept them in there to sort of like support it a little bit. But you'll notice the composition. So think in composition and learn to see light. The light is very soft in this case. Remember I mentioned shadows in the previous image? The shadows played a strong role. Well, there's very little as far as shadows are concerned in this image. They're there, but they're very, very, very soft because we're shooting an open shade. So when I see something like this, I find it interesting to take a picture of it again with my cell phone, and I'm using composition. Well, kind of, maybe not. There's the rule of thirds. I don't understand these other composition techniques, so I'm going to skip through those. You know, more or less the rule of, or whatever this one's called. This is along the lines of rule of thirds, and then there's the Fibonacci golden spiral, more or less. But I find this particular image interesting. It's very top heavy. You got the sun sort of circular, and it's just floating in the sky with a, you know, it's just part of the decor, which I found interesting. So, but again, strong compositional elements. You push the circle way up to the top third of the image to create what I consider to be a dynamic. A lot of people tend to just put stuff in the middle, and they put too much space around the image. So think about that when you're shooting. And you get to practice this if you're just walking around and you're taking images at random. This was at the point by the San Francisco Point at the end of Tamarindo Beach, leading over to Langosta Beach. It's kind of silly, but there I am. That's my shadow. Okay, this is same point, same day, and there was a dude fishing there, and I thought this was interesting, and let me try the golden spiral here. Yeah, more or less that's it. See, we got the golden spiral, plus we got the rule of thirds. So again, think compositionally. And one of the best strategies, by the way, when you're working up lighting, you got to understand lighting. Lighting is three things. There's true tones, which are the authentic tones of a particular subject, and then there's shadows and highlights. There's nothing more to it. That is the core elemental truth to lighting. And it's good to understand that. Once you understand that, you'll really start to see things differently, and you'll be able to create dynamic images, even if you're just using your cell phone. And I mean, a cell phone camera is one of the best ways to really practice the stuff that I'm talking about. But you don't want to get lazy and just like, oh, okay, click. You want to think, stop and think and analyze and look at it. What is it that I'm trying to achieve here? Is there a composition strategy that I can use? How about the lighting? Can I enhance the story, the subject matter by using best lighting strategies? So, yeah, it's kind of what we got going on here. So, all right, next image. Whoops, here we go. Bingo. Let's get rid of that one. I found this one kind of interesting. It's just a random shot on the beach the other day. Three girls laying down in the sun, and then you got the coconut. I think it's a lady over here. Yeah, she's selling either coconuts or jewelry or something. And I thought it was interesting in that we have two stories going on, and it's a bit of an editorial look, more or less, you might say. And we got the rule of thirds here. So, but again, the rule of thirds, so you know, it's like you have a line or something placed on the bottom third or the top third or right third or left third, and where they intersect, you've got these quadrants more or less. So these are quadrants: upper left, upper right, lower left. Sometimes putting the subject where the intersection is will enhance the story. But in this case, it doesn't work, but it does work with the rule of thirds, not so much the quadrants. And I find it interesting because we have these three tourists who are laying in the sun basking, and we got this Nicaraguan lady. They're all Nicaraguans who are selling this stuff, and man, they work in the hot sun, and we got such kind of a statement here, you know. So there's that going too, and I don't want to get too deep and sublime into that, but let me look at yeah, so we got the golden spiral going on here again, taken with my cell phone. Let's go on to the next image. I like this one. It was at sunset the other day. We just had these two umbrellas. They're very colorful. And so you have here, you got backlighting. So there's some strong shadows. Typically the shadows play a big role in backlighting. Backlighting or any kind of backlighting where you are beyond 90 degrees from the subject will create a very dynamic image, and it's because of the shadows. And again, you got to watch the video replays, and I'll put them in the link below to understand lighting. I'm not going to get too deep into that. But here you have, these are all actually on the shadow side. Over here you got the highlight side of this umbrella. It kind of makes it all pop, and you can see the same thing in the rest of the image. So let me just see if they got something going on here. Not really. Rule of thirds, more or less. Yeah, whatever those are. Okay. I like this image because it has motion built into it, and that's because we have foreground, middle ground, and background. This is an important compositional factor, and it's working in effect on this particular image, in my opinion. Classic scene. Here we go. Classic sunset scene. I saw this and I thought, interesting. Let's take a picture of it. Very dynamic. I like the fact that we have this dude right there, and we have three people swimming, and we have the sailboat, and we more or less have a strong composition with the majority of the image up in the sky. And then what I'm going to do is go back to the spiral. I'm going to guess there. I'm going to guess the sun is sitting in the golden spiral section. Now, if I was really sort of strict about my composition, I would recrop this image. These are all, by the way, none of these are cropped. These are exactly how I saw them in camera. So, but if I wanted to get really particular, I could recrop this one. See that? Now I've added this the spiral right smack dab the sun, right where the spiral meets. Okay, so I hope you're getting something from all of this, and I'd like to hear your comments down below. As a matter of fact, if you post some of your images, snapshots, I can analyze them for you. I might do this again every so often. So here's a classic scene on Tamarindo Beach. And we have, let's go to rule of thirds, see? So you notice how, yeah, it's kind of interesting. You know, the thing about composition is, you know, rules are meant to be broken, so, but generally you want to be aware of them and do the best you can to try and follow them, because your images will improve drastically as far as I'm concerned. You'll have a lot more dynamism in your images. This, I could see this created as a painting, can't you? Again, it's with my cell phone. Cell phones are amazing. I mean, the cameras on them are stunning. Here's another shot. Again, all of these are just snapshots. Walking down the beach, having fun, looking at the golden spiral. Nope, let's go to rule of thirds. So there we go, rule of thirds. So if I recrop this and pop that right in there, would it help? Maybe it would if I was particular. Now we got rule of thirds, bada boom, bada bing. what's cool about this image too is the sun. I would actually probably fix this one so that I get the sun smack dab in the middle. Usually smack dab in the middle is used on occasion for composition. It just kind of works. You'll notice that in some images, the way movies are shot, or in some magazine ads, just the way, you know, the way be putting things in the middle. But often we put things in the middle without thinking, and it's usually mundane. Okay, so let me see what we got here. Let's go. Okay, well anyways, you get the idea, right? So strong composition values, and we're creating a dynamic image. I like this image. This is up on the point. Often the guys on horse will come up with some tourists, and you'll notice the horizon is tilted. I would fix that. I would straighten it up in Photoshop. I like this image because it's backlit, creating a strong shape. And I'm looking at composition here. Let's go back to golden spiral, which seems to be one of the key factors. Yeah, anyway, so this one's kind of interesting in a sense. And here we have the same area on the point a little bit earlier, and you got the sun setting, and we got a couple sitting in the sand. So I just grabbed this shot from the top of the point. Yeah, we got the golden spiral. What about rule of thirds? So we have more or less in the bottom right quadrant, we have the couple intersecting there. So, you know, we have backlighting again with this one here, and you can tell it's backlit by the shadows. The shadows are really important. Once you understand lighting, man, I'm telling you, it's going to change the way you see things forever. It's going to change the way you see movies and art pieces, and you'll see the way light interplays to create shape and to create leading lines, and to create dynamism inside your images. It creates texture. All these things are important, and it tells you what's going on. So you've got shadow in all these footsteps, right? See that? Maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's not, but whatever. My point is that we have shadow, which is the shadow which is creating the shape of the footsteps, the indentations in the sand. Without shadows, you wouldn't have that. Okay, here's another shot, same place. I noticed this was another fisherman at that same time. You noticed the other fisherman I showed you earlier. Well, this dude was up on the point fishing. I thought, oh, there's a good shot. And I walked over to it, and I positioned myself with my camera with my cell phone to get a backlit. You notice how dynamic backlighting is? It's pretty dynamic, isn't it? And again, if I wanted to recompose, possibly I could, possibly I couldn't. I don't know. If I wanted to get really, really particular about it. So we have interesting positioning of the subject here. So practice these things, and if you're using only your cell phone, or I think actually a point and shoot camera is better because it gives you more versatility, and you get to learn more of the settings, the aperture and that stuff. So the tide's rolling in. I just thought this was interesting. There's nothing much more to it. Here's the area where I was mentioning earlier where that Soul Bakery is, and that's the walkway between the main road and the new food court. I just liked the idea. It was at night, so it's a little bit grainy, but you could see the diagonal lines. See how they move? I thought that was interesting, very quaint. And it was just a random shot, so I'm just having fun. I'm just shooting. And here's a dog on the beach. I made this one black and white just because. I don't know. Why not? So we have composition factors coming into play here. And so you'll notice I've positioned the dog way over here. Not that he's on the top of the image, but actually I'm shooting down on the dog. So I just thought it was an interesting angle. So when you're shooting, besides the lighting, besides the composition, look for creative angles and go the extra mile. Again, don't just pick up your camera and shoot. look for and think about different angles that you can use. Okay, last image right here. I was walking to the beach one day and I noticed this cool bus, and I just boom, took a snapshot of it. Because you see a lot of this in Tamarindo, and it's kind of cool. And it would make an interesting image for a banner on Facebook, Instagram, or a title page, or a meme, or something like that. If you put a short meme, a slogan, something to do with living the beach life, living the van life, living the adventure life, you could easily add something like that. Or just put it on a blog post, or Instagram, or Facebook. So, okay, that's all I got for you guys. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I want to hear what you have to say about this, and hopefully you've gotten something out of this. I appreciate your time. Thanks.